So welcome back everybody. In today's video we're going to be going over the new Evo Max series of cold cut saws from Evolution. So y'all know I'm a huge fan of Evolution saws. I own several of them. I started buying them a few years ago based on viewer recommendations and fell in love with them. Well, as a result, we've done a lot of metalworking projects. I've got a lot of use under my belt with these saws, and I can honestly say these are one of the best metal cutting saws I've ever tested. But supposedly Evolution just improved their saws, and just as important, their metal cutting blades have also been revamped. So we're going to go over that in today's video. All right, so in today's video, there's two new saws Evolution's come out with right here. We haven't put the blade on yet. We're about to get to that. The model I have today is the S15 CPS. They also have an S14. The big differences you're going to see between those two saws is the S15 is the more premium model. It has a fully cast base, whereas it's a stamped steel base on the S14. This particular model can run up to a 15-inch blade. We have 14s today. 14 comes standard with it, but if you need to make larger additional cuts, you can put a 15-inch blade on this particular model. Another very important feature worth mentioning on this saw that I love, I already have the previous model of this saw. It's the first Evolution saw I ever bought. So not only do you have a quick flip up and adjustment here on your tensioner or your clamp, but this is a very nice feature, and personally my favorite upgrade going from, say, the 14 model to the 15, and that's a quick setup on your 15, 30, and 45 degree cuts. Whereas typically in the past on saws, you have to have tools and adjustments. Well, you don't have to with this particular model. You've got a hand adjuster on your fence right here, a little tab that you pull up, and the cool part is, locks right back in to the 45 degree mark. You can tighten this up. You've also got a full gauge back here for standard adjustments if you need to cut in between. And now you can just quickly pop this up to your workpiece, flip this down, clamp it, and you're off cutting. I love, love, love this quick fence feature right here. Definitely worth the upgrade. But if you want to save a little money and just do standard hand adjustments, the S14 model is available. So there's some other really cool features to this saw and upgrades that they have made. So for starters, they've changed the motor the way that it ramps up, and it'll actually adjust to cutting conditions, and they claim that will extend blade life. Another feature that I really like seeing on this saw is a soft start feature on the motor. These are large 15-amp motors, and they have a lot of surge at startups. So if you're running a smaller shop or have a lower amperage breaker set up in your particular shop, you may be tripping breakers. A soft start is really easy on, say, generators if you're working off-site, underpowered electrical circuits, and it gives it a nice soft startup, and then the saw will ramp up to full speed. That's a pretty nice feature. Another welcome feature to the new Evo Max series, right in here is a light. So whenever we grab the saw and barely bump the trigger, don't kick the saw on, you will see a light kick on in here. There it is. And once the blade is in place, which we're about to install, it shines a light down on the blade, and the blade throws what's called a shadow line on your work surface. All right, so here we are in my shop. I've got all the lights turned on, so we're about as bright as I would ever have it to work. And let me show you the way this shadow line works. So you press your saw down, barely click on the handle, and look at there. You see the shadow line that comes up? And as you move the saw blade closer, you can just line that mark up with the mark on your cutting piece and know exactly where you're going to cut. Cut it off, click it back on. So it works a lot like a laser line, except it's just shadowing directly off of the blade. So if you're not familiar with cold cut saws and the reason they're called that, we can actually cut this saw, the material stays cool to the touch. That's something you don't get with abrasive saws. And how we accomplish that is with the carbide teeth blade right here, and we really need to talk about the blade, but it actually takes chips or chunks out of the metal itself instead of grinding it down with an abrasive disc like some of the cheaper saws that you'll see out there. That creates a nasty dust cloud of metal bits, not good for your lungs or good for your shop in general, and that really heats up your workpiece, can cause some warping on thin metal pieces or make it really hot to the touch for you. Now, because this saw is cold cut and cuts those little metal shavings out of the material itself, you will see some metal shavings around, but this has a chip tray down in here that you can access. So just use the provided wrench, which snaps in the front of this saw. You can pop that out, and here's your metal chip tray that you can dump. Put it right back in, just lock it in, it's spring loaded, ready to go. So you have a nice flat surface for working with square or flat material, but they also include this adapter right here, which you can put triangled pieces in, angle iron, square tubing if you want to turn sideways, or this will actually clamp on to round pipe. So it simply slides on right here. You can work it up or down and clamp on whatever size pipe that you're working with. So let's talk about the new blades that they just came out with, and this one automatically ships with the saw. This is part of their Evo Max lineup. Now they are claiming 3,500 or more cuts with this particular blade right here. That's insane when you really get to thinking about it. It will take me forever to make 3,500 cuts into some material. So this is a pretty dramatic improvement over other blades, especially from other manufacturers, but even the blades that used to ship on the saws previous to this model. And a few little specs worth mentioning on the front. That's 3,500 cuts they're claiming through 4-inch round tube, 1/8 inch wall, or 4-inch plate steel, 1/4 inch thick. They claim they've did a bunch of independent testing, so we're not talking about cutting through little things to get 3,500 cuts. We're talking some large material. The other thing they're claiming with these new blades is a nice thin cut and a lot less vibration. We'll see as we use this as we build projects out on the channel. So I need to open this up, put it on. You can see they went with a new black theme now versus the silver of the other blades. Really nice and thin compared to the other blades. They have some balancing technology cut into this. Again, time will tell on that. And if you're not familiar with the carbide blades, this is it. They just have carbide teeth instead of your traditional abrasive disc. I have transitioned away from those abrasive saws, and I am so happy that I have. There's nothing I hate more than that abrasive dust everywhere. They're very loud. They do not cut well. There is night and day difference between a cold cut saw compared to your typical abrasive saw. So there is a lock on this side. We'll push this in. As we rotate this around, we'll take out our bolt, we'll put our new blade in, and we'll clamp it back in place. It does come with an additional set. If you run the larger 15-inch blade, we'll use what's provided for the 14-inch. We'll lift up our shield, put our blade in, and you want to make sure you put the words to the outside so we get the proper direction. Put our plate back on. Now we can put our shroud back down, and we'll need to make sure we put this protective cover back in place and tighten it down right here. I should also mention I'm testing out their gas strut self-raising stand right here. Makes it really nice for portability. We're gonna do another quick video on the side, stay tuned for that, but that's what I have this saw set up on. You can use this on standard tabletop or any one of the saw stands that they offer. There is a chip shield deflector on this side, but you gotta understand these little small metal chips can bounce off of things. They do, and they will wind up popping out on you. Although you still got the chip tray catching the majority of them. But always wear hearing protection and eye protection even when using these types of saws. All right, so we'll flip up the quick release. Another feature I really like. Let's try some round pipe. This end is flared right here, so I'm gonna cut it off. We'll make sure we get that to where it'll clamp. Flip that back down. So let's see how the soft start works, and I wanna hear the sound of this as well. So extremely soft start. I like that. And those of you again running on say 15-amp breakers or just underpowered shops are gonna appreciate that as well. That's gonna keep you from tripping those breakers. I also do a lot of off-site work running small generators, portable power stations. Those are really gonna appreciate the soft start. I could also hear the motor ramp up, ramp down, and then slightly increase as I was making the cut. That's something not offered on the previous models. All right, so we just made that cut a few seconds ago. Cold to the touch. That's what I really like about a cold cut saw. So you can take a look. This is why I say use eye protection. You're going to get these little chips everywhere, but I'll take this any day of the week over all that abrasive dust. But you can see the majority of chips are being caught down here in the tray. That will fill up after a while of cutting, but be prepared. You're going to be blowing off your workstation. All right, let's cut something a little more substantial. Some thick wall 3-inch square tubing. You can cut 4+ inches with this 14-inch blade, and if you need to go any bigger than that, you can get a 15-inch blade. You can clamp this flat like this, which is how a lot of people will do, but a lot of people also don't realize if you'll put this piece back on, since it's designed to hold a triangle, round pieces, doesn't matter, and clamp your work piece like this. Now when you start your cut on a very small area, it's easier on the blade and will actually cut quicker. See how quick we can cut some thicker wall 3-inch square tubing. Another thing worth mentioning, now we have a brake. You see how quick it slowed that blade down? So that's another upgraded feature that I'm just now noticing. So once again, nice, smooth, clean cut, practically no burrs. And that was a very quick cut in my mind. I could have forced it faster, but there's no sense in doing that. Having had years of experience with an abrasive saw, I can tell you they won't cut anywhere near that quick. All right, I must say, I love my older Evolution saws, but I'm really digging the features on this new saw. The shadow line, definitely something I would use. I'm really liking the soft start and power capabilities of the new motor that they have in here. And of course, time will tell on the blades. 3,500 cuts, if we get anywhere near that, I think that is a bargain for a steel cutting blade. Again, that would last me so long. I'm not a professional shop here, so for the typical DIY user, that is a tremendous amount of cuts that would last them a long time. Even for the shop looking to get more out of a blade, 3,500 cuts is insane when you really think about it. So full disclosure, Evolution did send me this particular saw out. I've been buying their saws personally in the past with my own money, but they have recently reached out and supported the channel, sending a couple of saws out. I appreciate them doing that. I 100% believe in these products. I think this is some of the best metal cutting saws on the market, and I'm really excited about the new features that they have in this. If you want to check out their saws or any of their other products, I'll put a couple of links down in the description. Go check out their website, check them out on Amazon, and read up on all the specs. Hopefully you enjoyed this. This is a sweet new addition to the metal cutting game. We'll catch you on the next one.